Do I make a difference coming here talking to you each week? What I write in the paper, what I write on my blog, what I put at adventurealaskaradio.com. How about that for a plug? Do I make a difference? And I still came back to, I thought about it a lot last night. I talked to Cooper, my little buddy. Cooper's my King Charles Cavalier Spaniel. And Cooper said, yeah, Dad, you make a big difference, especially to me, and that was, of course, when I was handing him a treat. But seriously, do I make a difference? Do you make a difference? I've got a tagline that says, Alaska matters, and so do you. And I mean it. But I started to second guess myself. It's easy to slip into self-doubt. It's easy to slip into, oh, I don't know, is this going to matter? And it reminds me of a book I read a long time ago. My dad actually gave me the book. It was written by Wally Amos, and it was called Watermelon Seeds. And it was all about famous Amos, Wally Amos, his rise and eventual fall from fame and glory and fortune. And he told a story that has been often repeated prior to and subsequent to that book being written, but about the boy on the beach at low tide throwing one starfish into the water after another. And there's hundreds of starfish. It's extremely low tide. Stranger comes along and says, hey, kid, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm saving these starfish. Well, you can't make a difference. Look at how many are here. And he picks up a starfish and he throws it into the ocean. And he says, I made a difference to that one. And that's the secret of it. That's when I remembered that story, I said to myself, wait a minute. What about Homer Voice for Business? I'm part of that group, and that group is made of individuals. It's made of you. It's made of people that have said, I'm fed up. I'm tired of being trampled on. I'm tired of my rights not mattering. I'm tired of being told it's not fair that I'm not paying enough taxation. And that's happening at a local, borough, and federal level. And you know it. It's made up, that group in particular is made up of you, exactly you, and me, and people just like us that are tired of this kind of thing happening.
What this Congress is trying to do with health reform bill isn't something of an exercise of policy wonks and think tanks.
Small businesses have no idea what to do, what to expect.
When it comes right down to it, what we're trying to do is bring fairness and hope to the American people.
They don't know what affordability rules are. They don't know when penalties may apply. They just don't know. People are going to be really confused. I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down. You and I have discussed this many times, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
I just see a huge train wreck.
Of course, that would have been Senator Mark Begich to open the little show there, Senator Baucus, and then Speaker Pelosi. That's what you can make a difference, is telling that tale. Share that. Go to my Facebook page, Chris Story. Go to adventurealaskaradio.com. Share what you see there. If each of us needs all of us, and all of us needs each of us. You can make a difference if you speak out and you speak up. And and he said to me, this friend said to me, he said, well, aren't you worried about your business suffering at all? And I said, yeah, of course I am. Do you think that I play something like what I'm about to play and don't worry that there'll be some reprisal?
It concerns me when individuals specifically intentionally rely on misinformation in order to advance their point. What goes around comes around. That's a dangerous path to follow.
There you go. What comes around goes around. There's a city official telling you that disagreeing is misinformation. I beg your pardon, Councilman Burgess. Disagreeing with you is not spreading misinformation. And how dare an elected official use his position, her position, the bully pulpit, if you will, given and afforded to you by the people, and you use it to threaten. You use it to intimidate. You use it to say things like, it was a Councilman Dolma who said, when the people were one after the other coming forward and saying, we don't want to pay non-prepared foods tax in the winter. We don't want to pay sales tax on our bread come winter time. Please don't put this tax back onto the people. Maybe we don't need a fire department. Maybe we don't need a police station. I'm sorry, what? Same thing as city manager Walt Reedy back in 2009, who said, well, during the $5,000 campaign to convince you to vote against the repeal of the non-prepared foods tax, that, well, maybe we won't be able to afford police and fire protection adequately. That right there is the first time, well, maybe not the first time, but I would have given him the pink slip right then and there. right then and there, he should have been fired immediately, given notice, given some severance pay, out the door, gone. Yeah, you can make a difference. You make the difference. If you don't speak out because you're afraid you're going to get a zoning violation, how about $1.8 million? $1.86 million in zoning violations. There's a guy in California who is a total idiot. He's got a sign up that's ridiculous, but it's on his own private property, is in jail for not complying with zoning. It's powerful. It's meaningful. It's dangerous.
It concerns me when individuals specifically intentionally rely on misinformation in order to advance their point. What goes around comes around. That's a dangerous path to follow.
I'm Chris Story. You're listening to Alaska Matters, by the way. We're on KGTL AM 620 and FM 100 online at AlaskaRadio.com. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. I had an opportunity last Friday, as some of you know, to guest host the Glenn Beagle program on KBYR out of Anchorage. Had an awesome time doing that and got to meet a really cool guy. It's kind of funny. He's a neighbor, Tom Kazaya, author of Pilgrim's Wilderness, and a really good book. Had a good time interviewing Tom. You can go listen to that interview anytime you'd like at AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. Also on that program, I unveiled what I'm about to share with you. I'm taking a page right out of Herman Cain's book. No, not the fallacious one. The 10-10-10. That's right. We're one-upping Herman at 999. No, we've got 10-10-10. I'll tell you all about that. Plus, we've got an email from a listener, some information out of the Homer News, the Anchorage Daily News, and my guest at 1 o'clock is Jim Martin. Now, Jim actually contacted me, so commercial fishermen, relax. This man contacted me. He's with the Homer Charter Association. He wants to talk about the catch sharing plan. I've not heard anything from the commercial fishermen. They're, of course, always welcome to contact me, story@xyz.net, or shoot me a text real quick like at 299-7653. So 1 o'clock, we'll be talking with Jim Martin of the Homer Charter Association. We'll be talking about the catch sharing plan and their opposition to it. Clever campaign called Save Your Butt. Anyway, that and more coming up here on Alaska Matters. I'm Chris Story. You're listening to what my mom calls the greatest show on earth, Alaska Matters. This out of Tanana Valley State Fair. I reluctantly bring you this story only because I want you to know the cutting, if not bleeding edge of all news around Alaska. This show is actually called Alaska Matters. This comes to us from What the File. KTUU.com reports that there was a possible sexual molestation of a female horse at the Tanana Valley State Fair. It was reported Monday that possibly Sunday morning, 4 a.m., there was a disturbance. The horse was found to have been injured in a very private way, and they're still looking for any information. If you've got information about that, leave it to the people of Fairbanks, I guess. 451-5100, 907-451-5100. Whew, breaking news. What is going on? Hello? Man, is it too much daylight? This is the thing. This is going back to my friend. He says, can you make a difference, right? Yes. Each of us needs all of us, and all of us needs each of us. There are drugs in your community. There are legal drugs being sold. Another listener contacted me last week, and he said, are you aware of the bath salt scenario going on around town and the Alaska area in general? And I said, really, I'm not. And so I put in a phone call to the Homer Police Department. I'm hoping that we can get some information and then disseminate it to you through this program, because there's apparently legal products out there that are really devastating that I just am clueless about. So I'm going to be working with law enforcement of some sort, hopefully soon, and getting information to you about that. But yeah, we each can make a difference. You see something, say something. I know you're supposed to pay the New York Transit System or something every time you say that, but there's so many ways you make a difference. In fact, I have another piece of breaking news for you. And this has not been printed anywhere. It's not been publicized anywhere that I'm aware of. I believe this is the first you are about to hear. Breaking news that no one else, I would say on earth, but nobody else that you know knows. So you could be the first at your dinner table, the first at your lunch table, wherever, to tell the world the next two candidates, and I'm calling them the next two council members in Homer, on the Homer City Council. One is filed, one is about to file. The one who has filed, his name, drum roll please, Corbin Arno. The next person to file, the next seat to be filled, will be that of Gus Van Dyke, owner of Scruggs Automotive. Corbin Arno and Gus Van Dyke, I can hear you cheering. I can hear all of you saying, yes, finally, we'll have a voice for business, the common sense, the common people. And these kinds of exchanges will be a thing of the past.
My name is Shelley Erickson. I'm representing Homer Voice for Business. It's 25 businesses and growing. First of all, I'd like to ask you to reject the water sewer rate ordinance. As a local business owner, it takes much courage to come before the council and the city of Homer.
It concerns me when individuals specifically intentionally rely on misinformation in order to advance their point. What goes around comes around. That's a dangerous path to follow.
We all are friends and neighbors, but when it comes to government and the policies that affect our towns, we have lost our perspectives. As a business owner, I hear the mayor, staff, and council say they are business friendly. If that is so, why are so many business people afraid or unwilling to come and speak to you?
What goes around comes around. That's a dangerous path to follow.
Why are so many fed up with the city and would leave if they could?
It's expensive to live in Homer. There's no doubt about it. You need to have a good job to make it here. And as much as I would love to say it's, we can make it cheaper, we can make it better, that's just not going to happen. It's an expensive place, and, you just have to live with it. I'm sorry, but that's the way that it is.
That's right. Change coming soon to the Calvin Cowell Chambers. Homer Chamber of Commerce. Not quite. Homer City Council about to get 2 new members, Gus Van Dyke and Corbin Arno. I say that with a lot of confidence. I say that they are going to be your 2 new council people with a great deal of confidence, because I believe that they will behind them have the voice of the people, the voice of the business community, and the voice of those that just simply want a fair shake. That if we vote to not pay tax on something, we mean it. That if we have no longer a council that will meddle with the thickness of a bag that you can send people out the door with. That's coming up. People, I think you're probably tired of hearing, I would guess, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about the plastic bag repeal effort coming up in October, but folks, it's just around the corner. And my worry is that if we take our eye off the ball and we forget about it, and then we get a light turnout come October, and then that ballot initiative that so many people worked so hard on, and that so many are opposed to this law, the regulation of the thickness of a bag, that my concern is that there's going to be a lackluster turnout, and there may be some sort of a vocal minority push at the last minute, and we lose that. And when we lose that, we don't lose the ability to choose our bags. We lose a lot more than that. I think that we lose when every plank of freedom is removed from under you, you become less confident, less stable, less sure of yourself going forward. Do you know what it is to look at a jet? Look at a jet airplane and go, my God, a man or a woman, I don't want to be sexist, designed that, engineered it, tested it, flew it. We've created and do continue to create so much good we do so much good for mankind all around the globe here in the United States of America, that I just don't want us to lose our footing because we're trying to save the planet for the sake of throwing out our freedoms and liberties. If you want to address litter, I'm there with you. I am the Mother Teresa of trash. I will join your pro-anti-litter campaign. I will not, however, join your anti-freedom in case maybe we can dragnet enough of your freedoms away that you'll stop having the ability to litter. I trust you. I trust you not to litter. And when you do, you ought to be fined for it, just like drunk driving. I think that the drunk driving laws are far too feckless and weak. I think they're toothless. I don't think that they matter. I think that we say, when you start having 2 or 3, then we're going to pay attention to you. In the meantime, you've had a few too many cocktails. Come on with me. I think it needs to be severely enforced such that you just don't even dare walk the fine line. There's so many laws that are already on the books that we can already turn to and say, we have $1,000 litter fine already. How about on the Homer Spit? You drive out to the Spit and you see there's a no littering sign. Where's the $1,000 fine? It should say it right there, $1,000 fine per instance. Let's get serious about that. Let's install garbage cans, barrels along the course of the spit. Because right now, when I'm walking or bicycling, if I find a piece of garbage about a half mile into the walk, I've got to carry it 2, 3, 4 miles either direction at some points before I can get to a receptacle. How about we change that up, and maybe we work in concert with the Chamber of Commerce and business owners who are so generous in this community, and as they are around the country in the United States, small business owners can sponsor a can. And now we've got an anti-litter campaign, and you're going to get business owners behind you. Anyway, I am so excited. Now, the filing period is open for other seats in school boards and hospital boards. Check it out, homernews.com. Go there. Look at what filing periods are going to be open for the next, I think, couple weeks. And if you want to make a difference and you want to get involved, speak up now. As the mayor has advised, step up. And as Mayor Navarre, anti-private property rights Mayor Navarre has said, pay attention. And I want you to pay attention to the rest of the program. We'll be back with more here on Alaska Matters. You're listening to Alaska Matters. I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. Getting a ton of text messages, so many that I can't read them all to you at once. I will read a couple, and so if I don't read yours, don't feel like I'm leaving you out or anything like that. But one person suggested that rather than garbage cans, and see, I appreciate my friends because they tell me the truth, and my listeners do as well. You always keep me on track. I appreciate that. We need heated toilets, Chris, not garbage cans. I like that. It's funny. This text message, let me get to it here. Oops, not that one. This one. Here we go. By the way, the number is 299-7653, 299-7653, and you're welcome to weigh in, good, bad, or indifferent. And don't forget, 1 o'clock, my guest will be Jim Martin with the Homer Charter Association, and I want to emphasize they contacted me. They want to talk about their view called Save Your Butt, No CSP. That's a catch sharing plan. And if you're on the opposing side of that, of course, you've got the number, 299-7653. My brother just sent me an email, or a text message, actually. He lives down in Phoenix. He says, so the president just finished speaking at Desert View High School near my home. Great news, Chris. You need to know this. We need to improve the housing market by... Now, you've probably filled in the blank already. You at home, you've probably already filled in the blank. But did you know we need to fix the housing market by fixing immigration? That's right. The more people that come here and buy homes helps the housing market, plus so much more. That's right. Oh, man. He just has no clue. Honestly, I swear to you, the President of the United States has not a clue as to how the markets work, housing or otherwise. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. It's not even just unbelievable. Tiffany and I have been talking lately about, this conversation came up yesterday about do you make a difference? Oh, and there's a text about that. Let me read this one. You make a difference, brother. I appreciate that. I'm out in the trenches every day talking and meeting people, and your name has been a topic. Wow. Somebody has to be the one to sound the trumpet. Wake up the sheeple before it's too late. Thank you. I appreciate that sincerely. And that's what Tiffany and I have been talking about. Are we sheeple? When did we lose our spine? When did we say, well, I don't want to say anything because, when? Why? How? I just don't get it. We're just like, wait a minute. Congress has exempted themselves from Obamacare? Max Baucus, one of the chief architects of the bill, has said it's a train wreck. And now Congress has exempted themselves and staffers from it. Well, we've already got a good plan. IRS is going out there for a waiver. You've got the unions asking for a waiver. I know you hear this all the time, and it's splashed all over the news, and you don't need my interpretation of it, but I am telling you to make a difference in Washington, D.C. starts here, and it starts with you, wherever you're listening to this. And we do have a tremendous amount of people that are listening online. It's podcast later on. It's not live streaming, but podcast at VentureAlaskaRadio.com. We watch the statistics and the analytics of that website, and I'm telling you, people all over are listening. And I don't know if they're finding it here and taking it home with them or if they're just finding it online. But I'm telling you, and I'm speaking to you wherever you are listening to this, you make the difference. And I'd like to invite you to join me in my 10-10-10 plan. Plus, it's fun to say. For the next 10 days, please contact 10 people per day and ask them in turn to contact 10 people likewise for the next 10 days and share the truth. Share the truth about Senator Mark Begich. Mark Begich wasn't an innocent bystander to Obamacare. It is, in fact, Obegich care. I mean, literally Obegich care.
What this Congress is trying to do with health reform bill isn't something of an exercise of policy wonks and think tanks. When it comes right down to it, what we're trying to do is bring fairness and hope to the American people.
Interesting. I had a conversation with Dr. Ilana Farr, who has been very outspoken on this subject, and said that she believes, in fact, that Senator Begich did not read the 2,700-page bill. Who could? Really? Who could read that? Honestly, and if you did say you read it, A, you're probably lying. B, you probably didn't understand a third of it, or an eighth of it, or a sixth. Wait a minute, is that going backwards? Man, the problem is that they make these summaries, and then you know that Senator Harry Reid, probably in a very creepy tone, wearing probably silk pajamas with an ascot and maybe a smoking jacket, brought the senators into his private chambers and promised them all kinds of things or threatened all kinds of things. And, well, gosh, I can get my head around this. I mean, after all, it's just hope and fairness for the American people. And I contacted Senator Begich prior to the passage of Obegich care. And I said, please do not pass this. And please do not seize 1/6 of the economy. Please do not nationalize 1/6 of our economy. Please do not make it such that I'm a criminal for not paying a tax for not having purchased a product. Oh, is it a tax or a fee? Well, it depends on whether we're talking in front of the Supreme Court or whether we're just having some locker talk or just some talk with the news and the press and the sycophants or the water cooler. Thank you, Dave. By the way, Dave Webb is engineering the program and the broadcast, making it sound amazing as usual. Been awfully quiet today. Asking you to contact 10 people for the next 10 days and ask them in turn to contact 10 people as well. It's called the 10-10-10 plan. We can do this. I'm going to post later today on our website, adventurealaskaradio.com. I'm going to post that previous selected audio with the Darth Vader theme because I think it adds a little bit of, I think music can put a finer point on what we're really trying to say. And I think that music does it. I'm going to post that on AdventureAlaskaRadio.com and on Facebook. Join me on Facebook. Look me up, Chris Story. Find me, friend me. We'll have fun. And you can share that as well. Even if that's all you do for the next 10 days is 10 people. You send it to 10 people. Or you send it to 100 people today. You get the word out that Senator Begich has got $4 million in his bank account. $4 million, according to Politico, he has amassed during this election cycle already. He just earned, $900 and some odd $1,000 in the last quarter fundraising. $4 million for a $176,000 a year job. It's time to bring Senator Begich home and do what it is that he does. I don't know what that is, but it's time to send him home and send somebody else to Washington, D.C. You need to share this. I'm telling you. He is looking to fill his own fiefdom and never leave D.C. This is what happens. Max Baucus, 1975, was elected to the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. 1978 wins his first Senate election, and he's still there. And he's the chief architect of Obamacare, who has now said it's a train wreck. It's time to bring Begich home, folks. Absolutely. 10-10-10. Please join me in that. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. We're going to talk about the Mat-Su voters and what they can weigh in on soon on alcohol tax. And, in fact, we'll have our Blackwater Bend Espresso Mind Bender. Our guest will be Jim Martin. He's with the Homer Charter Association. He'll be on the program. We'll talk about the catch sharing plan and get his opinions on it. You're welcome to weigh in on that as well. Send me a text at 299-7653, 299-7653. I'm Chris Story, inviting you to come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with what my mom calls the greatest show on earth. You're listening to Alaska Matters. I'm Chris Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. In just a moment, I'll talk with Jim Martin with the Homer Charter Association. We'll be talking about Save Your Butt. And you've got until the 26th to get your comments in. And is your second halibut under attack? Is there a threat for your second halibut? We'll talk with Jim and find out what the deal is there. It's time now for your Blackwater Bend Espresso Alaskan Mindbender. You know Blackwater Bend. They're your home for gourmet coffee, award-winning beans, and Pat and the gals take real pride in every cup served. That's the absolute truth. And if you can find a company, no matter what it is that they're selling, that they take pride in their product, that's somebody you want to stay with. That's Blackwater Bend Espresso. It starts with a custom roasted bean and then just goes right on to that smile as they hand you that cup of deliciousness out the window. Make Blackwater Bend Espresso your coffee headquarters. Here's your question, and I want to send 2 of you there for free. The number to dial is 299-7653. Text me when I ask you the question, 299-7653. Got that programmed in? A new tax is proposed in the Mat-Su Valley on what? Alcohol, property, or non-prepared foods. It's a new tax, and the Mat-Su voters are going to have a chance to vote on it on an upcoming ballot initiative. Is the tax going to tax alcohol, property, or non-prepared foods? Text me now, 299-7653. It's an interesting conversation. We'll get into that further. But without further ado, please welcome my guest, Jim Martin. Now, Jim, you're with correct me if I'm wrong, is it the Homer Charter Association or Alaska Charter Association, or both?
The Alaska Charter Association, and yeah, of course, we're working with the Homer Charter Association as well.
Okay, now Save Your Butt campaign. Tell me just briefly, what's it about, and kind of what's the crux of this thing? What do people need to know? If they could only just have a simple paragraph, what do they need to know?
Well, there's a new federal rule coming out, and it proposes to set a new allocation between charter guided anglers and the commercial longliners. Basically, what it's going to do is reduce the allocation of people who need to or choose to go on charter boats, how many fish they might be able to get under different stock sizes, and you could be limited to 1 fish on a charter vessel. And we're trying to straighten this out by getting people to learn more about it and comment on it by August 26th.
Okay, now you've got, the website is what, saveyourbutt.com? Or
that's one of them, and also alaskacharter.org.
Now, the commercial side of this thing, I'd say from the commercial fisherman's perspective, and I don't have it, and no one has contacted me from that perspective, but playing devil's advocate with you, if the more people that come up here from outside that are catching more and more fish in the larger and larger sizes, maybe even the breeder size fish, are impacting the more sustainable fishery of the commercial industry, and they've got an opportunity to lease or to buy an IFQ for that second fish from a commercial operator. What's the problem with that?
Well, first of all, the average size of the charter caught fish is about 15 pounds, as according to the paper last week. And, you know, the processors pay a premium for larger fish in the commercial fishery. So I think, you know, you've got it upside down as far as who's catching the bigger fish and who's catching more of them. 80% of the allowable catch goes to the commercial longliners. And under this new plan, we would be losing up to 30% of our allocation. And depending on the science of it, how many, you know, fish are out there, we might be looking at a lower bag limit.
But, okay, let me ask you this then real quick. And I'm asking you to help me understand this because I truly don't. Economic impact. Would you say that the commercial industry, the commercial fishery, has a bigger economic impact than would be the charter industry?
I don't think so. I think, you know, looking at Homer here, we've lost our commercial processing facility, so these fish aren't even being processed here. We did a back-of-the-envelope calculation and came up with about $37 a pound that a charter angler would spend in the community. That's on lodging, all kinds of meals, the family members going around and buying knickknacks. And that's a lot of money, new dollars that are coming into the state from outside.
And is there a worry or concern, and this is the third perspective, I guess. You've got the charter perspective, the commercial fisherman, and then there's the sport or personal use fisherman. Is there a concern that if the second fish goes by the wayside for the charter fisherman, would then it follow to reason that perhaps the personal use or the sport fisherman might also be looking to be restricted to 1 fish?
Yes, not under this plan, but I certainly think the other shoe will drop, and if they can push this through on one section of the recreational fishermen, they'll be able to look at continuing that. And really it's an unnatural split. I mean, I fish on charter vessels. I also fish on private boats. And I'm being divided into two sectors. And there's really no reason for it because I'm using the same gear. The charter fisherman, the charter captain doesn't catch them for me, and they're my fish.
Mm-hmm. Southeast Alaska, are they down to one fish on charter?
They were for a couple of years, and then they loosened it up a little bit because that resulted in them coming way under their allocation. So now they have a one fish split bag. They have a split bag limit. Like they can keep a big fish. They used to have a minnow rule under what 32 inches or something like that. Now they have a reverse slot limit. You can keep a real true trophy fish if you catch one, or one small fish. But for a while they were really just basically eliminated from the fishery because, who wants to just go out there and keep one fish?
Right. I'm thinking now just as a total layperson and ignoramus on the subject, but I would have thought when they allocated or created a limited entry charter fishery, that would have allayed a lot of the concerns of the biologists and of those regulating this industry, such that there's a limited number of charter operators that can operate in the, say, Kachemak Bay or Cook Inlet area here.
Exactly.
So I would have thought that would have allayed a lot of these concerns.
You nailed it. I think you really nailed it right there because the problem statement is no longer valid. They used to say that the charter fleet was growing out of control. Now they're under a limited entry program, and it's really hard to get a seat on a charter boat right now. In Homer, we talked to one guy charter operator who had to turn away 50 people one Saturday morning. Didn't have a seat for them. And, what's going to happen when people find out that they can't get a trip out there? So we're being artificially constrained. There is a limit to the amount we can catch, and we've been coming in under our allocation for years. So,
actually, Jim, I just got a text message from a listener who wants to know, and maybe this is something you can address or not. Let me know. Why does the Chamber of Commerce still allow large halibut for prizes? Halibut. Here we go. My screen just went blank. Why does Chamber still allow large halibut for prizes? They are all hens.
Well, actually they've gone to a different kind of system. They still give out some kind of prize for the big fish, but they're doing a tag thing, so the really big prizes are actually just luck of the draw. You catch one of those tagged fish in the Derby, and you could win a truck or something like that. So, yeah, there is a lot of concern. I think, if we're talking about both sides of the equation, maybe commercial and recreational would all toss back those big fish if that was the biological call by the scientists. But I don't think you'd get agreement on both sides.
Is this at all political? I mean, I guess everything in life really is, but is there a political lobby at work on both sides? And at the end of the day, will science be the deciding factor, or will it be, okay, what politically can we live with on both sides of this thing? Because it's real. When you're talking about taking away the livelihood or restricting or limiting somebody's livelihood, it gets real emotional real quick, and it's real serious when you're that person that's under threat on either side of this. So I guess the question, the finer point of that would be, is science going to rule the day here?
Well, it's not a science question. There is no science in the rule. If you go on to alaskacharter.org and look at the actual rule, we have links to it. You won't find any biological information there. Allocation decisions are always political. It's just a social decision about who gets to catch the fish. There will be no more fish or less fish in the water after this is said and done, and it's very political.
All right. So is that the best website then to get more information?
Yeah, that's got all the links, sample letters. You can read up on it yourself, and please inform people and yourselves about what's going on here.
All right. And the website one more time.
alaskacharter.org.
My favorite, saveyourbutt.com with one T. But anyway, all right, Jim, thank you. I appreciate your time and information.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day. And don't you go anywhere. I'll have the answer to our Blackwater Bend Espresso Mind Bender question and much, much more coming up here on Alaska Matters. Hey, tomorrow you're going to want to check out Radio Realty. Don't go anywhere for the whole hour. Radio Realty. My guest will be Jim Balliet. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll find out tomorrow. He's with the Americans for Prosperity Group. They're looking to open a chapter in Alaska, or they are starting one in Alaska. He's got a meeting coming up on Thursday, August 8th at 6:30 p.m. And so, Alaska, no, what is it? Americans for Prosperity. Very much looking forward to talking to Jim tomorrow. He's a reformed or retired politician out of Montana. We'll get more information on how you can join the efforts there. He's also talking about, I think one of the main purposes of him being up here is about the Blaine Rule or the Blaine Act, which is something to do with school choice. So we'll find that out tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Radio Realty. The program starts at 12:30. I'm going to play an Out and About here by Karen Marks. She's a contributing member of the program from time to time. Her Out and About pieces are featured here. Before I do, I'm going to give you one more chance to enter before the big drawing. People of the Mat-Su have an opportunity to vote on what? To impose a new tax on what? Alcohol, property, or non-prepared foods. While we listen to Out and About with Karen Marks, send your text messages to 299-7653.
There is a different world across Kachemak Bay to the other side from Homer. I grew up enjoying the ocean, swimming and lying on the beach, but really had not done much of anything else with it. So when people here talked about going just across the bay and even owning another place there, it seemed not far enough away and different enough for a vacation-like space when you lived in Homer. I just got back from a day of kayaking with conditions just right to go around Cohen, Yukon, and Hesketh Islands, seeing pigeon guillemots, sea otters, and growing kelp forests. This adventure came after making it to Bear Cove to paddleboard and visit friends on 4th of July, and earlier in the summer spending the day at Moss Island, all across the bay. Each of these opportunities gave me a chance to spend some vacation time in another place, a different world across the bay. This is Karen, and remember, an open mind to adventures, no matter how old you are, is a great reason to be out and about in Homer, Alaska, and even the world.
And there you are, Karen Marks with the Art Shop Gallery doing our Out and About. I admire that. Man, somebody getting out there and doing it, and that's something that we can all take a lesson from. It's funny, I had somebody had the right answer, and then I said, yeah, who is this? And then they're like, oh, they sent the wrong answer, and so I got it. We'll move forward with our Blackwater Bend Espresso Mindbender. Here it is. Mat-Su voters weigh in on alcohol tax. Voters in the Valley, a place not known for teetotaling, I like that line, will decide in October if they want to pay extra for booze to bolster borough coffers. But that's the question. Is it really? And I didn't expect anything different from the Anchorage Daily News to carry the water. However, the secret to this whole law or proposal is contained within this article, and I don't think he meant to do it. So he says for extra, to bolster the borough coffers. This is what the author of this article writes. His name is Zaz Hollander. What a cool name, though, right? Zaz Hollander. The October 1 ballot in the Mat-Su will include a 5% alcohol tax to raise revenue and diversify borough funding from its reliance on property tax. The Mat-Su Assembly voted 6-1 in mid-July to put the tax before the voters. The tax would affect bars, restaurants, and liquor stores through the borough. The cities of Houston, Palmer, and Wasilla charge sales tax. They'd get an exemption to make sure the combined sales tax for liquor didn't increase the total tax to more than 5%. So they're going to get their pound of flesh, and of course, like all new tax laws, we have to have a carve-outs and exemptions, right? We can't just have a straightforward deal. But here's the deal. They're expecting that it'll raise $1 million in sales, says Tammy Clayton, the finance director for the borough. The estimate is based on an existing tax in the Fairbanks North Star borough. The money will go into Mat-Su. Here's what they're not taking into consideration. You don't drive from Fairbanks to Anchorage to buy non-taxed booze. So they're stuck. That's a captive audience up there in Fairbanks. Where are they going to go? They're going to have it shipped in? No, they're going to pay whatever sales tax is charged, and they're going to drink. And you would too if you lived in Fairbanks. But the bottom line is, Anchorage is the great unknown here. Anchorage is just a, 35, 40-minute drive in, and it's like the duty-free store. There's no tax. You're not telling, it's going to have a huge impact. If they put this tax on themselves, they'll see a complete decrease in sales. But what they think is, and this is where it gets a little of the dirty secret here, Darcy Salmon, an assembly member and former borough mayor, permanently disabled by a drunken driver, declined to say how he plans to vote in October. Through his history, it makes it pretty clear. In 1989, he was hit by a drunk driver. Horrible, horrible accident. He had lots of surgeries, rebuilt from the waist down, and he still walks with a heavy limp. I'm not partial to drinking, but I don't think people will pass the tax, he said. Anybody that hasn't gone through what I have probably is not going to vote for it. I hope I'm wrong. One has nothing to do with the other. As tragic as that accident was and is, and it's awful. And I despise drunk driving. I talked about that earlier. We need to have very, very stiff laws regarding that. Very stiff laws. But the bottom line is that this is a tax designed to curb the behavior of drinking. And they as much as admit it right there. Assemblyman Salmon says, well, if you haven't been through what I've been through, you may not vote for this. Well, one has nothing to do with the other. It isn't about reducing. You don't reduce drunk driving with tax. You reduce drunk driving with stiff penalties, and you take the law seriously. You don't impose a tax on people that's going to squeeze from one sales distributor to another. In other words, all you're going to do is move the sales into Anchorage for those that are conscious of the price and go, wait a minute, I'm going to be in Anchorage anyway. I work there. I'll just pick up my alcohol on my way home. I'll pick up the keg for the party, the case, the half rack, whatever it is, the fifth. Whatever it is that you're drinking, you're just going to get in Anchorage while you're there. And they're actually going to end up declining revenues, not the behavior, the drinking. They're not going to ebb the drinking. And they talk about teen drinking and how there's correlations in studies that show a higher tax will reduce the amount of teen binge drinking. What a bunch of malarkey. Are you kidding me? Well, we were going to have a big party this weekend, but we started looking at the sales tax on that fifth of Captain Morgan's and the case of Coronas and said, it just isn't worth it. We're going to play Yahtzee instead. We're going to no, they're going to keep drinking. No, it's behavior modification. It's no different than the tax imposed on you in Homer with the bags. The bag ban, that's a tax. It costs more to do business in Homer now. As a result of it. That's called taxation and changing your behavior. Bottom line, that's what they want to do. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I will announce the winners to our Blackwater Bend Espresso Mind Bender. And I've got a couple of other news features here and a couple of other pieces of our 10-10-10. More here on Alaska Matters.
We have so many people who can't see a fat man standing beside a thin one without coming to the conclusion the fat man got that way by taking advantage of the thin one.
Oh, where is Ronald Reagan when we need him? I had an awesome conversation with a young man earlier today, and it goes back to my initial self-doubt that I experienced last night. And I don't worry, I'm like a cat, landed on my feet, and came to the conclusion that, yes, by golly, I'm making a difference because you make a difference. You matter, you're worthy, and you are the difference. And so you and I shall keep coming here every Tuesday and talk. Every Wednesday and talk. And of course, you can always find our program at AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. He had so much hope and promise. This gentleman's 24 years old and is filled with insight and knowledge, and he reads history books, and he talked about modern day happenings politically, socially, and morally compared to historical events around the world. And it made me realize, man, there are young people paying attention and that get it. There are middle-aged people paying attention and get it. There are older and octogenarians. We have in every demographic, every age group, we've got people that get it. And so often, so many, we just say too little because we're either afraid, maybe it just is going to make a difference. Business is going to get hurt. I don't really want. Here's what I don't want. I don't want my actors and my sports athletes and celebrities to get accorded expert status based on their fame and suddenly Matt Damon's an expert in all things global warming or climatology or theology and or the beginnings and the origins of the world, and he can comment on Sarah Palin, et cetera, et cetera. I want them not to be afforded expert status unless they are. If they've got expertise in a particular just anything, any subject matter, fine, bring it to the table. Otherwise, it's just your opinion. And we talk about A-Rod, and we talk about all these athletes that are murdering each other and taking drugs and raping. And you know what? To me, they're no different than the athletes of Rome, the Dave, help me out. The word I'm thinking is gladiators. Gladiators, thank you. They're not experts. Let's stop giving them, but your opinion matters. Your vote counts. Please vote in every election, including the one coming up in October. You've got Corbin Arno and Gus Van Dyke both running for the Homer City Council. You've got the Bag Ban Repeal Initiative on the ballot. You have an opportunity to come up here pretty quick next year to oust Senator Mark Begich, who brought you Begich Care with Senator Reid and House Speaker Pelosi and Barack Hussein Obama. We've got all kinds of things to be paying attention to. I want to thank the Anchor River Inn for making this portion of the program possible. You know, Anchor River Inn's your home for family-style, great food, historic Anchor River Inn. Make some memories. Go do some dolly fishing, get breakfast, lunch, dinner in the Anchor River Inn. They've got a souvenir shop, grocery store, everything you need, accommodations overlooking the river. And, of course, take with you, if you're a visitor, take with you the Anchor River Cam at anchorriverinn.com. You can at any time check in and see what's happening down on the river. The winners to our contest, Blackwater Bend Espresso, brought you the adventure. Let's see here. Tim and Garrett. Tim and Garrett both knew that alcohol was indeed the tax of choice, possibly that the Mat-Su Valley residents will make. I hope they don't. There's promise in this article that Burrow's talking about promising dollar for dollar. $1 in extra revenue raised on the liquor sales will reduce the property tax. No. It's never going to happen. Just don't even believe them for a second. They're going to have two. It'll be 2 for 1. Trust me. It will not be $1 for $1. Just guaranteed. No, they never reduce the cost of government. Never. If you and I don't insist. And that's, please, take a minute. And if you know Corbin Arno or you know Gus Van Dyke, say thank you and congratulations and congratulate yourself. You've got a couple of winners there. They're going to step up to the plate. They're going to heed the advice of Mayor Beth Wyeth and step up. And they will be our new council people. I am confident of that. 10-10-10. Don't forget, for the next 10 days, contact 10 people and encourage them to do the same. Spread the word, spread the truth, and you and I shall remain free. Free, I tell you. You want to hear a great conversation with Tom Kazaya, awesome author, and it's called Pilgrim's Wilderness. Go to my website, AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. AdventureAlaskaRadio.com. You can check that out. I want to thank Dave Webb, and for all of us here at Alaska Matters, thank you for listening. Thank you for doing what you do. Now go out there and enjoy the great land. We'll see you tomorrow for Radio Realty.